Hello, Peaceful Profits Nation. Chanel here with an exciting client spotlight episode for you today. So today we're talking to our client, Scott Conorton. He is an expert at creating, communicating, sharing, and delivering value for and to the people within his sphere of influence. Scott, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Chanel. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to introduce a little more because what you do is so interesting and so relevant to what our listeners want to hear about. So, Scott has created and launched funnels and offers in a wide range of markets, and his core focus now is optimizing full funnel performance for his clients' cold traffic, new business, customer, and client acquisition campaigns. What he does is help 7, 8, and often 9-figure business owners turn ad dollars into profit on the world's top social media platforms using his unique approach to scaling on cold traffic, incorporating a creative, iterative process he calls the 5-act algorithm. So, this is good stuff. We love to hear about this. I'm excited to dive into this today. Now, you said that before coming to Peaceful Profits, your business was, and I quote, flat, disorganized, no direction, and that now it's astounding. So I would love to hear a little bit more about your journey, where you were, what things were like then versus what they're like now.
Yeah, without burying the lead, I'll just get straight to it. Um, the biggest pin drop for me when I entered sort of this world was not starting from the bottom and working my way to the back end offer. So not starting with the funnel and working to the back end, but starting with the back end offer and doing sort of the that way. So that was the biggest thing for me because that allowed me to drop that whole 80/20 thing, drop 80% of what I was doing and focus only on who it is I was serving and what I could help them achieve, which then it became a no-brainer of, okay, so if I get to pick, then I get to pick, right? I get to pick who and what I do with who and what I do it with. And so that was for me just it was like instead of trying to 2x my business, I 10x my business, right? And everything just became significantly clearer very, very quickly for me. Yeah, I hope that
Okay.
answers the question.
Yes. Yeah.
Good,
Awesome.
good, good.
In fact, it brings up the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is this idea that of 10x is easier than 2x. That's one of your recent successes. So how has that proven true for you?
um, in not a small way, every aspect of my personal and professional life. So, and now I do want to clarify because I know 10x has a very can come with it a very toxic connotation, hustle mentality, fight, grind, and although those things are inherent with success in any venture, um, the Dan Sullivan strategic coach thing where I got it from, and Dr. Benjamin Hardy, just to credit where credit's due, they come at it from a very health, wealth, happiness, holistic, not separating church and state, business and personal, very, very deep and true space. And so that has been a very, very large impact, had a very large impact on me. To be honest, I only discovered that book 2 weeks ago, and I've only listened up to the first chapter. When people ask you, how many books did you read this year? My answer is going to be one. I'm going deep, not wide, and I'm scheduling out reading that entire book multiple times throughout the year, and that's all I'm reading. But yeah,
Okay,
it's
that
been
is the best book.
paradigm shifting is what I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That book is so good. For listeners who haven't read it, go and read it. I've read it
Mm-hmm.
multiple times. Then I loaned
Mm,
it to my husband and then I took it back. It's so good.
yeah.
And there's so much wisdom in there for entrepreneurs. And I love this concept that you mentioned of the 10x as not the grind, not working 10
Mm-mm,
times harder, not
mm-mm,
putting yourself, out away from your family and doing more, 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 more. It's not that idea. Um,
mm.
but so I want to understand though, so that's, you gave us a very conceptual idea of 10x, but for you
Mm.
personally, what does
Ooh.
that look like? What does that mean for you to go in 10x on your business?
I'll literally step and just point at this board here. So, okay, so that's I'm in my garage. We had a quick story about, the just before I had gone on the call, the office was a bad space because I got three boys, and so I'm in the garage now. Fun stuff. So that's where I come in every morning now. And before probably January 5th of this year, I would come out in a drudge, and I skip out now because now I look at and interact with my business in five very specific, very fundamental ways. I'll just be quick about it. You probably read or heard of the E-Myth or the E-Myth Enterprise, where you work in or on your business. If you've been anywhere around Roland Fraser, who's a absolute, not just a mergers and acquisitions aside, he's a genius business mentor. He helped me drop the pin on working above your business, which is like, so if you think like working in is serving clients, right? Working on, I would think of like a vertical scale where like, like a book funnel. A book funnel is client acquisition, but it's not serving clients, it's working on efficient client acquisition,
Right.
working on the business, right? The health of the business. And then there's working above the business, which the best way I can exemplify this would be to, I've got an advertising agency, and I don't do SEO, but my clients want me to do SEO. I'll go out and acquire an SEO agency, and now I've grown my business without having to go and build a new business, right? So Roland Fraser talks a lot about don't start a business, buy a business. An amazing hook because it hooked me line and sinker, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so in, on, above, client servicing, vertical scale, lateral scale, aka growth. And then there's working outside of my business and then over my business. So I'll just tap on over the businesses is ancillary and supportive functions that really just like if I were to step back and look at this board and say, what do I need to do to support this board? That goes there. And then outside would be like uh all of the stuff that I do that would be like so if like this is all the agency stuff and the direct marketing and the book funnels and the client acquisition campaigns and the da-da-da, this would be like I want to write fiction novels. So like I know Mike writes fiction in his pastime. That would be like where Mike would put that. So in, on, above, out, over, and before I was stuck here in a 2x mindset, being like, okay, how can I go from my best month is 20K. I can't even see myself doing that right now. And so how do I get to 40K a month? And so you try to duplicate time, effort, energy, call it input, with the same input or
Yeah.
the same fuel. There we go. Or the same assets, the same, whatever, you know what I'm trying to say. I'm still working through it. We're getting there. It's a work in progress to quote Austin Powers
Yeah.
movies. Yeah, I'll stop there. That would be client servicing in, on, yeah, I think that's where we
Okay,
get, yeah.
that's so interesting. I love that breakdown. I think that's
Mm.
very helpful.
That,
But
sorry, that's what I was, sorry, getting at. Whereas first I was stuck here in thinking, how do I double? It's now I do only the stuff. So instead of putting major focus on minor things, all the minor things are now outsourced, which
mm,
is all now here, right?
yeah,
So now I only focus my major attention on my like 80/20. Actually, if we're talking 10x, we're talking 80/20 20, right? Um, so that's only allowed in here now, and you'll see like there's only one card. There's one card. There's stacks, right? But yeah, so whereas I was stuck here, I am now skipping out the door and without a bead of sweat, smiling at this board every single day, picking what I want to do that day. And what's great is, when I discovered that I didn't have to focus on only one thing in one time and and I could do it all. What I noticed, even I think it was yesterday or this morning while I was driving to get my coffee, was that I naturally focused. And now I have a very, very specific book that I'm using to target a very specific audience of a very specific business owner looking to achieve a very specific outcome. And so like everything has become laser focused. so that like a concept I was wondering this morning when, or at 2 a.m. this morning when I couldn't sleep, was how do I 10x an hour? How do you get 10x out of an hour? And I, that's kind of how, right? I now only do the things that best support. I mean, like everything I do is to support the health, happiness, safety, and security of my children. Therefore, my wife, therefore me, because you can't give from an empty cupboard. And so this allows me to do that where I was like stressed and anxiety and like killing myself to try to do it. Now I do it I, without even trying. That's a terrible way to put it. And I hate to say, I hate how arrogant it sounds, but please go read that book if you're listening, because it will shift the stuff out of what you think in the world.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't sound arrogant. You know what it does bring up for me is another book by Ben Hardy, Dan Sullivan, which is Who Not How, right? It
Don't even
goes
get me
hand in
started. Oh,
hand, yeah, with what you're
good
saying here,
stuff.
because you are freeing up yourself. And it doesn't sound arrogant that when you take your best, highest level of where you can make the contribution and you put yourself all in on those things, whether that's your family, your business, the where you make the most contribution, and let others help in their area of expertise, an amazing thing happens, in your business, in your life. And that's how you 10x an hour. So
That's
I love that.
absolutely,
I love that
absolutely.
question. How do I
And
10?
the great thing is like, not only does this allow me to support everybody not above me, but like the reason I'm doing this is to support those who I'm here to support, which are my friends, family, da da da. But it also allows me to support all of those who are there to support me, letting them only and always focus on their core competencies so that they get to skip to work when they get to, like, and all that kind of stuff. So that, and then anything, and the thing I do with my partners is like, what do you not want to do? Tell me what you do and not want to do. And I'll find someone because I want you for this. We're having a conversation because I know you can do this. You're a great person. So I want you. Um, and so what do you not want to do? And let's find that and we'll figure out how to make it work. And so it's like, it really like 10x becomes, that's how it really becomes every facet of your personal and professional life, because not only do you get to 10x, you get 10x out of your return, but your input on relationship, right? So it's a
Yeah,
fascinating concept. And when the pin drops on it, man, like there's a difference between, like, for me, conceptual and what I call physical understanding, right? So if like I can point over and say that's a guy holding a baseball bat, swinging the bat, and you get it, and I get it, but there's a big difference between that's how you swing a baseball bat and this is that's not how, right? There's a big difference
right.
between conceptual and physical understanding.
Totally.
And I can't I know I heard it from Tony Robbins first, and I know he has 3 degrees of, I think it's 3 degrees of mastery if I'm terribly terrible. And I know Dean Graziosi talks about that as well, but that's another like real, like that's another thing that's talked about in 10x is easier than 2x is the difference between conceptual and physical
Yeah.
comprehension. Yeah, it's
Ah,
wild.
so good.
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. Now, I want
Mm.
to shift gears a little bit here and talk
Mhm.
about some work, some specific work that you did.
Yes.
So, this is really fun because it's kind of this full circle moment for Peaceful
Yeah.
Profits for Mike. One
Hmm.
of Mike's fiction mentors was David Farland. And Mike recently saw a funnel promoting David's work and recognized elements of things he teaches here, of Peaceful Profits templates, of that kind of thing. And after
Funny
doing some
that.
digging, yeah, he found that you had created that funnel. So can you tell
Hmm.
us more about that?
Yeah, that is a really cool, really fun story. So, sort of midway through, I'm a sort of recovering copywriter now. Midway through my copy career, I started to get the itch of just sort of, I don't know, wanting to branch out of the industry in which I thought I should be operating. And I also wanted to have an offer that was my own. Hence how I discovered I can be a profit. So, that's when I came. It all sort of happened weirdly at once. I wanted to do sort of higher ticket product launches when I originally became a copywriter. That was sort of like I came in to the direct response world through Jeff Walker, through product launch formula, through the old school direct response, direct mail, all that stuff. And then in a roundabout way, what I really wanted to do is get out of what I was writing and into actual back into marketing, because I came into copy through marketing and I wanted to get back into actually designing offers and managing campaigns. And that's what made me leave my 9 to 5. And then thanks COVID and that, wrench, and long story. So I had discovered Peaceful Profits, specifically, sorry, One Book's Million Method, as we all do, through a beautifully hooky ad um, that just swallowed me hook, line, and sinker real quick. So
Do you remember what that was? Do you remember what the ad, like what was compelling about that ad, just out of curiosity? It's okay if you don't.
no, hold on, give me a second,
Okay.
because I have been following said human beings ads ever since. I always track who sells me, right? Um, oh, I bet you if I went into his ad library, I'd find it, obviously. It was, but it was along the lines of the original hook, which was how to turn a book into $1 million business, a 7-figure business. That was the big component of the big hook, because I'd actually gotten into copy being like, okay, who am I going to serve? Oh, can I serve authors? And my limited thinking back then didn't see what was right in front of my face. And my first client was a publisher and an indie publisher. I won't name drop, but he was a wonderful human being who I'm still in contact with. But I came into copy wanting to sell information. I came into marketing wanting to be a wisdom marketer, information marketer, as Jeff Walker calls it, an information marketer. And so when Mike's book came across, it was like, oh, I can sell information and make a living just working with what I love. Like I don't have it here, but I bought it. I bought a house with an office that has inlaid shelves because of it. They had inlaid shelves. The whole reason I bought the house was for the office that I now don't use. Um, so found Mike's Peaceful Profits book, was reading it and listening to Mike's podcast. So this happened at the same time. So the podcast said, go read outside of marketing stuff. And I went and did that. And at the same time, I was reading One Book's Million, and I came across um, David Farland's book. Help me with it. Sorry. Attention deficit is helping me. It was blanking on the title that I spent months looking through.
I know what
Um,
it's called.
The
I'm not.
Million Dollar Outlines. Goodness gracious me. So David Farland's Million Dollar Outlines, in Peaceful Profits. Sorry, in One Book's Million Method, One Book Millions Method. Mike talks about book hooks, which is very important and not the title, and a not difficult concept to grasp, but very powerful. And he talks about the Million Dollar Outlines being a perfect example of a great book hook. And so when I heard Mike said, go read outside marketing, and I came across that, it was like two birds, one stone, let's go do it. So I bought it and it sat on my desk for months. And finally, I wanted to start a new thing, and I saw David's book and I thought, that's a perfect idea for a product launch. Hosting a live 3-day event where people create their $1 million outline, fiction $1 million outline. So long story short, I helped him develop that offer. Unfortunately, just at the tail end of the very, very successful launch that he'd never experienced before, um, we did lose him. And he was an amazing man. I don't care about the opportunity being gone. I believe he still holds the Guinness World Record of most amount of book signings of a single book in a single sitting. He's the book coach behind the Twilight saga, amongst other million and billion dollar IPs. And he's just an amazing. He was an amazing human being, and I was very grateful to have known him. And so we did the launch. Unfortunately, we lost him. And then I had always wanted to. I had big plans for David and his business, because he was just like, is he not the perfect person for a book funnel, a One Book's Million Method book funnel? And I saw it from the get go, and so eventually they said yes, and we partnered on it. And so because David passed away, I had an idea for a bit of a unique hook, and I'll just throw this out there. to turn the $1 million outlines into a legacy edition. So I got a hold of it. I reworked a bit of it, added a new introduction that was a little more, Peaceful Profits-esque without losing any of the original spirit of it. Um, David and his sons and business had a lot of assets, digital assets that I was able to very quickly and very easily craft a very strong and very still performing ascension funnel that is now filling his list at a profit with the most qualified leads you can get, which are customers. And that's the whole purpose of the one book's million, not only ascension funnels, but one book millions method. And although Mike does teach courses, I will push anybody who's considering. There are avenues where a course is right to sell on the front end. But if and when you can use a book, you are going to find it attracts a very, very amazing, the right book attracts the right people. And it's a phenomenal, there's a reason it's been working for 120 years, right? There's a reason, all copywriters refer to the Robert Collier letter book. It's because books have been working as the number one marketing asset, bar none. And they're all based all funnels and da-da-da. It's all white pages. They're all based on books, right? They're all based on this direct to audience book marketing strategy, client acquisition, customer development, right? And so for me, David was a no-brainer, and it's not surprising how well it's working. But I'm very grateful to Mike and the process for not only being there, but helping me, see and achieving what I was kind of hoping to be capable of, right?
Yeah.
So I will put it that way.
Okay. Well, I'm curious if you can pull some things from this experience with David Farland, but also
Mm,
from all of your, you do cold traffic acquisition funnels for other people.
mm,
And you
mm.
specifically said, if you can do a book, do a book. I'm curious why a book works and what you've learned along the way about what you need to have in place to make it work.
So I don't know if you guys anybody's picked up on this. I like to talk. No, I don't like to talk. I tend to talk, uh, just because I feel like sometimes I need a bit of preamble or pre-framing before I get to my point. I shouldn't, but I do. And so, as a successful recovering salesman, amongst other things, one thing I do remember is that it is important to listen twice as much as you speak. And so for me, having somewhere where I can put everything I need to get across to properly, and I'm going to just rip off Dean Jackson and or Joe Polish. No, Joe Polish. Properly position, predispose. I don't remember the third P, but to achieve all those three Ps that Joe Polish talks about, a book ticks all those things for me.
Okay.
It is my best salesman because because I'm respectfully, as a business owner, we are our best salesmen. We are the ones who are closest and most married to the outcome of what is we do. And so we tend to be, talk about your thing for 15 minutes without thinking, well, okay, right? And it's something I do with my clients. I trick them into I trick them into talking about themselves and their product and their service, and did it without not from a space of look at me, I'm great, but from a space of like, what's the real value here? And it unlocks just so much messaging and so much magic that just makes a lot of marketing no brainers, right? It makes it no brainers. So yeah, did I answer the question? I went on a tangent there.
Yeah, I'd like you to go a little
Sorry about
bit
that.
deeper. Even I
Yeah,
think there was some wisdom in there already,
sorry.
but what else have you learned about why book funnels, why those matter, and then how they
Right,
work?
right. So properly positioning, letting you get canning and cloning your best salesman, which is you more often than not. And if you're not a writer, there are ways around that. There, authorship, not writing. Um, it's doable and it's not hard. It's simple, but it's what is it? It's simple, not easy. So being able to send your best salesman out there into your ideal prospect makes it not a sales conversation coming from a space of need, but a collective collaboration conversation from a space of mutual want. Not to, not to be not too much hyperbole, but that's genuinely how I feel about books and books specifically as a marketing asset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you for that. Now,
Mm.
I want to ask advice for other people who are in those beginning phases that you found yourself in, where their business is flat, disorganized, doesn't have direction, that want to have some of what you have, that want this, thriving business. What advice would you give to other people?
Um, there are a couple things I would get them to focus on. Who, not how. I know it sounds counterintuitive, and you might be in a space where you don't think you can afford the who. But if you become good at your core competency, it allows you to sell the thing, and you will have to do multiple things if you do want to grow and scale. If you're only doing copy, you're going to find you get stuck, and therefore clients are going to say, "Do you do XYZ?" And not whether you like it or not, but it's inevitable that if you're starting in a business, you're either going to partner with and or grow, right, to keep that business alive. So who, not how is very important. Very, very important. Focusing, and not for anybody else but yourself, on only the things you want to, because they are your desired, if only desired, core area of expertise, passion, if that's what you want to call it. And if it's not passion, you bring passion to it. Um, those would be the two things that I would want people to understand: who, not how. And for yourself and for nobody else, focus only on what it is you want to do, and find someone, partner with. The best relationships I have, the most valuable relationships I have in my business, are those who want to do all of the, from my perspective, CRAP that I don't want to do, and who are so graciously excited to just dump all their CRAP on my lap because I eat
Yeah.
it up like it's, like it's everything I want and need. So that's how you overcome any money mindset blocks, is you find the who for you, for them, collective collaboration, and you just drop the how. It starts off at 80/20, and then it compounds. And if you are in the space where you cannot see the forest through the trees, and you need to just, like, sometimes it is about moving forward, not knowing the destination, but at least having it's somewhere there, right? I'm going that way, and that's okay. It's okay to be in that space, and to be generous, kind, and patient with yourself if you are.
Mm,
Yeah.
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 Okay. So good. Thank you for that. Now, I know you said we didn't need to, but I would love it if you would share where our listeners can find more about you and your work.
um, the best place to reach out to me is on LinkedIn. I am active. I'm not active on there, but I am active in there in my inbox. That's where I sort of, I don't know, self-qualify those who I don't really have a business email. I connect it with all of my clients personally, either on Skype or in our agency Slack channel, et cetera. But most of it's like through personal email, personal Slack, personal Facebook. But so if anybody wants to connect with me on a professional level, I'm happy, happy, happy to help anybody who's stuck. I always have 10 minutes to spare for someone who's in a dark space. So LinkedIn outreach messaging is the best space to get a hold of me.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I would say that. I don't have a website.
Okay, we'll do that. LinkedIn. Awesome. Well,
Yeah,
Scott, thank you for being here. Thank you everyone for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye.
thank you.